Well, welcome to the Middlesex Moments radio show. I'm Anna Wasesha, president of Middlesex Community College. And on my show today are my three guests, Christine Witkowski, who teaches environmental science here at Middlesex, and two folks from the Center for New Media, also professors, Rick Eriksen and Rich Lenoce. And we thought we would take this whole half hour to talk about this wonderful weekend that we're going to be having here at Middlesex starting on May 20th and then on the 21st. So let's start with the 20th. Christina has been coordinating what we're now calling the
Cap and Gown 5K Run and Walk and Kids Fun Run. This is our 13th annual road race, but this year is a brand new incarnation of the race. In the past, we've had it in October, and the fall hasn't turned out to be really a great time to do it. There's a lot of other competing events going on, a lot of things here, and as far as races go, the fall is really packed with races, so we have a lot of competition. So we thought we'd try something completely different and celebrate graduation, celebrate student achievement. So we're having a Cap and Gown 5K, and we hope that people will come out and get into the spirit of it and run in their caps and gowns if they have them. Maybe those who are not graduating this year but are past graduates, maybe they can dig out their regalia and run in it as well to really add to the spirit of it. So I'm very excited about this event.
So am I, and actually as I'm thinking about it, then the following week is graduation. So
Correct.
It's a wow weekend rolling into a big week here at the college. So what about the Arts and Media Festival?
Well, the Arts and Media Festival is the next day, which would be Saturday, May 21st. And that, I think we settled on 6 o'clock. And that's been going, gosh, this will be the 12th annual Arts and Media Festival, though we have done it much longer than that, but this is
This would be our 21st year doing an activity then.
Wow.
Because we used to have an awards night, and then it morphed into, we brought in the graphics.
I was an infant then, that's why I couldn't really come to the table with that. But wow, 21. So yes, that's actually Saturday, and that's an event that basically allows us to show off all of the arts and media production that the school actually does. In the library, there is the traditional fine arts, graphic design, and your traditional media sort of on display. And then in the center, in the lower level, we have various activities going on. And then there's a screening that goes down. We're not totally nailed down on the time, but usually around 7, 7:30. And then there's a screening of the various production from the past year.
And the digital media exhibitions that we have. We usually have some treat down there. Like last year we had our green screen
That's right.
set up. We could insert people into movies and things. So we talked about doing something this year.
Yeah, a few
things.
special
So
things
it'll be
down
exciting.
in the lower level.
Are you keeping the theme under wraps? Last year was Willy Wonka.
Well, no, wasn't Willy Wonka. I guess it was. No, actually it was funny. Everyone says, oh, the theme was Willy Wonka, but it really was actually a little bit more of green screen. And so I think that it was hard to say, what's your theme? Oh, it's green screen technology. That's so dry. No, but it was, that was the concept. We wanted to sort of highlight the new tech in the studio. And so the theme was, can we pick, various movies that people would recognize? Can we get the faculty and staff sort of injected into those scenes? But sadly, Willy Wonka seemed to be the most goofball one, and so people remember that.
Well, the performance was outstanding.
You thought
Yeah, I do kind of remember that. Well, let's take a break and let those public service announcements roll, and we'll come back and we'll talk some more about the race and some more about the media festival. Well, we're back to the Middlesex Moments radio show, and we're talking races and arts shows and media festivals and all these things that are happening here at Middlesex Community College near the end of May. If you think of May 20th as the end of May, it's the end of classes anyway, and the end of exams, right?
Yeah.
And the end of grading. So it's effectively the end of almost everything, all the work part of school. So let's talk about the race a little bit more in the course, and what you're anticipating, the runners might see on their race, and, maybe tell us a little bit about what you hope what kinds of runners will come to participants and how you can participate. So I'll leave it all to you.
Okay, all right. So this year we're doing the Cap and Gown 5K. It's Friday, May 20th, and it's at 6 p.m. And that's kind of an unusual day and time to have a road race. And we did that on purpose because there's less competition, and sometimes it's really fun to go do an evening race. I've done several of them, and my co-race director, Yvonne Rubin, feels the same way, that it's just really a fun thing to do. It's different. And there aren't any other races at that day and time in Connecticut. So we stand alone and hope that we can attract a lot of people to come out for that. And it also works well because students and staff and faculty are here during the day and, maybe more likely to stay and participate than if we had it, on a Saturday morning early when it's competing with a lot of other things. So we think that the new day and time will be fun, has a lot of potential to be just really more of a party atmosphere. And this race is similar to our past races in the sense of it being a wonderful course. We're using essentially the same course. It's a 5K, and we're going to adjust it slightly because last year we had a few complaints because the course for the 5K had us running uphill at the beginning of the race, and not everybody wants to go uphill right at the beginning. So we're moving the start up the hill so that you start pretty much flat and you're still coming kind of downhill at the end. And it's an out and back race. So that means that we're going out about 1.5 miles and coming back. 5K is 3.1 miles. An out and back course is always fun because the runners pass each other, on the people coming back, the people who are still going out. That creates a festive atmosphere. And then for the spectators, you get to cheer people on as they go by in both directions. So we really like that it's an out and back. It takes runners out on the dirt roads by the reservoirs behind campus. It's wooded. It's mostly dirt roads, pretty smooth and flat, a little bit rolling here and there. But it's just a beautiful, peaceful place. And in May, we're hopeful that it's just going to be beautiful weather for a run, not too hot, cool in the evening. So we expect that people will really enjoy it. For people who have never done it before, you're welcome to come and walk the route. You don't have to be a runner. If you're a new runner, and we've had a few here, we've been doing some running sessions on campus to try to get people to get started with running, and you can do run-walk intervals, so you can run a little bit and then walk and then run again. That's a great way to get started. So this is really for everybody, just to come out and support the students, help us raise money for scholarships for the students and grants for faculty to innovate in the classroom. So it's a really good cause, as well as being a lot of fun, really celebrating students. And with this new incarnation of the race, students seem much more excited about it. When we first introduced this idea to the Student Senate and asked for their support, they were just, buzzing with excitement for this idea to celebrate the cap and gown, the graduation theme. And they were talking about, all the things they were going to wear and dress up. And that's really what we want. We want that kind of festive atmosphere. Runners are known for this. If you go to a 5K, you'll often see that if there's any kind of a theme for a 5K, or really any distance, people will dress up. And if you think of the Manchester Road Race at Thanksgiving and all the pictures you probably see in the papers, people wear the craziest costumes. So if you just give runners a chance to dress up with a theme, then, it just creates a really festive atmosphere.
I've been kind of imagining what it would be like to run in a gown.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be adding a little difficulty?
Yes. It may pose some challenges, or even, the mortarboard, that's, I don't know how people will keep those on their heads, maybe run with it in their hand, so we don't know how this will work out, but we've seen people run in crazier stuff than that, and it seems impossible, but yet they do it. So, and the nice thing about the gowns is they tend to be, right around knee length, so they're not going to impede people too much, and you can run with it flapping open if you want. So we figured, people will have various pieces in their closets and in their attics and, whatever, maybe even just bring the tassel and pin that to your shirt. So it really could be anything.
Right. Last year, one of the faculty members here ran in pink foam rubber curlers.
Yes.
I didn't even know they made them anymore.
I know.
She sent to me dollar store. That's just in case you're wondering where you can get it.
Did that tie to the theme at all? I'm trying to think of now curlers.
It was Halloween run.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
okay, all right, that makes sense.
Yep. So we do have a tradition of costumes here with the runs.
And of people with baby strollers,
Yes.
pushing strollers, and those running buggies that people use who are serious runners and have children in them, and dogs.
Yep.
People can bring their dogs.
Yep. Really, we want people to feel very welcome and just enjoy themselves. We are having a kids fun run. So the 5K run walk is at 6, and the kids fun run is at 5:30. So anybody who wants to bring kids of any age, that's free for the little ones. There's no charge at all for that. The 5K is $20 if you pre-register by May 6th. whether you're running or walking. And then on the day of the race or anytime after May 6th, the price goes up to $25.
And how do you register?
You can register online. We have a webpage, mxcc.edu/5K, and you can register online, or you can download the registration form from that website and mail that in if you prefer to do that. Just mail it in with a check. And you can also register on the day of the race. People who register ahead of time, the first 200 registrants can receive a technical tank top. So most races, the people who pre-register get some kind of t-shirt, and we decided to go with the tank top, something a little different. And the technical material is the kind that's good when you sweat. You don't really want to run in pure cotton, so we're going to offer a technical material, so it's good for runners. So
I was going to ask that. I was thinking, what is a technical? I'm thinking like special little pockets and okay, so it's the material.
It's the material. Yep, you want it to be 100% synthetic if you're running in it. Yep. In my earlier days of running, I made the mistake of discovering that even if you are wearing a 50% cotton shirt, if it's really hot out, you are going to drip water, especially into your shoes. It drips straight down to your shoes, so your feet end up sloshing around in the running shoe. So we wanted to offer the right kind of shirt for people who really like to run.
And so people who don't know our campus, but know generally speaking that we're down Saybrook Road and then up the hill a bit here by these reservoirs, where would they convene? Where should they go?
They're going to go to the upper parking lot. So when you see the sign for the campus, there's a left into the lower parking lot. And you'll go past that to the upper parking lot. And that's where we're going to start the race. There'll be plenty of parking up there. That's outside of Snow Hall. That's one of our buildings on campus. So if there's any kind of drizzle or any kind of rain at all, this is rain or shine, but we can retreat into the building if we need to, if it's raining a bit before the race. And we can congregate there afterwards as well. But we'll have tents set up outside of Snow Hall for registration and for picking up your bib if you pre-registered. So everything will be right there. You'll see it as you come into the parking area.
And the timing is all done by a chip, right, that is in the bib?
That's right, yeah. So each bib will have a chip on the back side of it, and when you run over the mat at the end of the race, it records your time. And that allows us to see, who won, and not just the overall race winner, but winners in each age group. And the nice thing about these small races is people stand a better chance of placing in their age group. I know that works for me. I like the small races because I'll place in my age group. I'll take first or second or third, and that's always gratifying. We're going to have wonderful medals for people who win in each category, and then the overall winners, of course. And we're also going to give medals to the overall faculty and staff winners, as well as the overall student winners. So we have a couple extra categories there. So prizes, lots and lots of prizes. And we'll have, some fun things as well. We're looking into creating Middlesex tattoos, cap and gown tattoos, the temporary tattoos that you can put on. So people can do that, and run with the tattoos wherever they put them on their face or whatever. And the kids, of course, adults and kids can use the tattoos. And we're hoping to set up a photo booth where we'll have some caps and gowns in case somebody didn't bring their own and they want a picture. They can pose for a picture in the photo booth. So we're planning some fun elements too.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a great time.
Yeah.
So why don't we switch? And we're trying to do two events at once on this radio program. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, let's switch to the Arts and Media Festival. And then I think because we have these brilliant minds here around the table, we'll be able to build a clear connection between these two events that rises above the fact that one happens on a Friday and one happens the next day on a Saturday. So we'll be right back after this message. Well, we're back to the Middlesex Moments radio show, and over the break we determined that there really is a connection between these two events other than just being on two successive days. So do you want to say a little bit about that?
Oh, sure. Yep. One of the things we're excited about with this race theme, the cap and gown race celebrating graduation, is that at the end of the race, as people come across the line, we're going to have it set up so that there's an announcer who's going to call off names as people cross the line. So it'll be like, at a graduation as you get your name called, and we're going to have certificates of completion, rolled up like a diploma to hand to each runner as they cross the line. And the DJ or announcer that's going to do that is one of the students in the radio club, I believe.
Yes.
So we're excited to have a student involved in that way, and also to have that celebration of graduation by calling out everyone's name. Everyone from the first place winner all the way to the very last person to cross the line will hear their name called.
Perfect. So how do you teach a student to be an announcer?
Well, we have a course just in that, a performance course, which students who are interested in on-air production, being in front of the camera or in front of the microphone, take. And so this student's one of those students, and we're going to try and recruit another one so that they can trade off. Because sometimes when they come across the line, there's a lot of them coming across at the same time.
Yes.
So you want to break it up a bit for them so they're just not, breathing names. So they can switch back and forth. So we're looking at having a couple of students doing that.
Sounds great. Do you have to have a particular kind of a voice to be a good announcer, or is there voice training involved?
Yeah, there is. There's the whole philosophy of the Midwestern accent, they call it.
Oh,
It's
right.
the predominant voice of radio. Yeah. And so you learn to pronounce, you don't pronounce quarter like we do, you pronounce a quarter. So you kind of remove some of those New England vocalizations from it and go to a more centrist approach. So in classes like that, they teach that.
Diction and elocution. All those things that we don't think about anymore.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah,
I'll have to take a look at, I'd love to see the syllabus.
It's so funny because as you were saying that, I was thinking about, because we're doing our advanced media production classes, which are the capstone classes, which actually students are about to leave, cross the finish line, usually. That's when they're taking those classes. And we were just, last week, we were sort of doing reviews of the short public service announcement productions that get them going. And a lot of students tend to just use their friends for the actors or actresses, or really the voiceover work. And we really had to point out that, you might not want to be using your friend who doesn't have experience necessarily doing voiceover work, and you might want to tap into the performance classes or find someone who indeed has actually had practice with doing voiceover work, because it's not just reading the script. There's so much to it, to where you're emphasizing, the big words you folks just use, like diction and so forth. But that was just there. Now I can't believe you haven't actually leaned over to me and said, okay, can your students actually start designing up the actual race diplomas, because that's usually something that does occur as well. So maybe
we can talk about that after the show.
All right. Well, we'll weave those students in every aspect of the production for sure.
Looking for more work to heap on at the end of the semester.
Exactly.
Actually, the annual academic calendar, though, there's a relief to it, because it does end. I mean, it's really intense, and then it's over, and that's a good feeling.
And there's that celebration feeling.
Yeah.
Graduating, the happiest day is graduation.
Right.
It's just great.
Right.
The whole celebration. In most jobs, having worked in industry, you never get a chance to reflect on what you do, because you're just on to the next project.
Yeah. Right.
You're on to the next research. You're on to whatever. But when graduation comes, we get to sit back and celebrate with our students. And that's the best.
I mean, we're hoping there's to some degree what we're hoping to try to evolve what's occurring this year into something more of a weekend that may start with the race, with that thematic component, and then be able to not just have 2 or 3 hours in an evening to showcase the talent and the productions and that come from here, but to actually turn it into more of a weekend event, so that we have a day where we can now give adequate time to the theater students, to the performance students, to the poetry and writing students, so that we could actually have a day following, let's say, this kickoff Friday, a day that might start with performances, musical performances throughout the day, the theater, and then leading into let's say the second evening, which is your Arts and Media Festival, which really showcases kind of the highest caliber media that we're actually producing. We don't give awards per se at that, although we have in the past. And then I think ultimately, not happening this go round, but then we continue to evolve that into let's say alumni are there for these events, but to possibly then look at, is there a third day, or is there a breakfast component? Is there a way to really make this, it's that spring weekend either before the commencement exercise, or how do we weave that in? So I think we're not right at the beginning. We're maybe knee deep, shin deep into the water at this stage.
Yeah, I think it's a good time to take the plunge, just to extend your metaphor shamelessly, because next year is the 50th anniversary of the college.
Yes.
So if we were going to do some kind of homecoming weekend, that would be a perfect
Right. So
way to do
we
it.
we don't want folks to feel as though this is like a dry run. It's all planned out. It's gonna everything's gonna rock and roll just fine. But it is a little bit of that evolution towards what I think is that spring kind of weekend.
You have to start working on a name for this thing.
And we'll need a year for that to come up with that.
So there's no admission fee to the Arts and Media Festival. There's a fee for the running, of the 5K, but and a modest fee, and a very affordable, in exchange for which you get a technical tank top. I'm sure you have to focus a little bit on alliteration in that elocution class, because it's a difficult thing to pull off sometimes. But so this is a free and open to the public, and public encouraged to come.
Yes.
And it's in Chapman Hall, which is the library, the big building with a silo on the side and the coned roof. But what do you mean by media? Like, what would somebody see at a media festival? Talk to me about that.
Well, beautiful works of fine art to start off, photography and sculpture and painting and illustration, and digital media, including work that Rick's students do that's interactive, games and animations, and then we move to the film area, so short films.
Films about, or like, what do you mean by short films?
Short films, everything from documentary to comedies and dramas and parodies and satires, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, we definitely try to also maximize Chapman Hall. Chapman Hall tends to be sort of it is the hub or the learning commons, and so we try to use each floor of it. You walk in, and the library itself houses the traditional fine arts. That area, and then either take the elevator or you tromp downstairs. I'm being a little vague on tromping upstairs to the multi-purpose room for performances, because we don't have that fleshed out just yet. But downstairs, that's where we do display sort of the interactive material, the things that you need, let's say computers or screens for. We will most likely, that's where we actually even have to deal with audio. A lot of people don't think that, how do you display audio? So we're kind of thinking, what's a unique way we can do that this year, take over a room and have folks experience various different sound designs, electronic music, that sort of thing. And then try to funnel everybody back upstairs. But the show doesn't stop. Folks can be downstairs. Last year we used the TV studio there was a theater performance. A play. That play was being shot live so that you could actually see the students recording it in the new studio. So it was the live performance was happening. It was being recorded in really in a live production scenario. And there was a third room where you could go in and you could sort of kind of watch that whole thing sort of unfold on 3 or 4 large monitor screens in our broadcast room. And so we sort of maximize all the tech rooms down on the bottom floor, and then we try to say, all right, let's go for some fun, and there always is usually a thematic sort of piece to the evening screenings, which kick off around 7:30, and we try to make that a sort of I won't say Rocky Horror Picture Show thing, but sometimes there's toilet paper and spray bottles, and definitely audience participation. So we definitely, we try to encourage that for the end of the evening sort of event.
If it's a nice warm summer evening, they can wear their technical tank tops.
Exactly. Hopefully maybe a shower has occurred,
from
Friday in between Saturday, but hey, we'll take that too, really.
So let me ask you a technical question of the new media folks. If somebody creates a great film, one of the ones I really loved in previous years was about longboarding, because I didn't know that longboards existed, and it was really a great film to watch. And they want to save it forever, because they might want to use it to, say when they were applying for a job, hey, here's an example of the work I can do. If they put it into the cloud, would you jump over the problem of not being able to retrieve it, say 5 years from now when people don't use CDs anymore? in the same way that we started with floppies. God knows, we probably started with reels of magnetic tape. Then we moved to floppies. Then we moved to the 3.5-inch hard floppy, which is, an oxymoron. It doesn't make any sense. And then we went to CDs and DVDs. And then, so the issue is, how do you keep this going forever? So is the answer you put it into the cloud, and then how does that work?
Is the most difficult question in media today, because formats change, and where you put things. I had something called that was a .Mac account. Remember it was before iCloud. And one day they just said, we're turning it off and we're switching to iCloud. And last week I went to see if I could find it somewhere, and it was gone.
Yeah, I mean the key thing, formats will always change, and so really it ultimately is having multiple forms.
Right.
So whether you have it up in the cloud, have it in 2 places in the cloud. It's also about the experience. Experience the moment at the Arts and Media Festival, and then know, I could use a YouTube, I could use a Vimeo, I could use something, do a search, find that,
Right.
and then as an artist to have, ultimately have multiple forms of it, and.
We do a lot of talking about keeping portfolios. Keeping them up to date is the most important thing.
Transitioning. So I'm afraid that we've come to the end of our half hour, all too short, but that we're ending on the note of redundancy. And redundancy is very important in the technical fields. Redundancy is very important for the public to know that this college is doing lots of things every day, it seems to me, and we're welcoming you all to join in on the 5K road race on a Friday night and to come back to the college on a Saturday for the Arts and Media Festival. So Christine Witkowski, Rick Eriksen, and Rich Lenoce, thank you so much for being my guest today.
Problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.